Namaste, good evening, and good morning to those viewing from locations outside India. A very warm welcome to the Vedic Astrology Masterclass Series 2023. I am Ms. Shilpa Kona and I will be your host today for the masterclass. It is our pleasure to introduce Ms. Komilla Sutton, a renowned figure in the world of Vedic astrology. She will be teaching about a very interesting topic today, Graha Drishti, the hidden influences that we cannot ignore. Komila ji is an internationally recognized consultant, teacher, and lecturer who has dedicated herself to the study and promotion of this ancient science. Komila ji is the co founder and chair of the British Association of Vedic Astrology and has been leading trips to India since 1999, providing unique insights into the cultural roots of Vedic astrology. She is also a sponsor of Vedic astrology conferences in India since 2013. Her expertise extends to writing as well, with several books to her name, including Nakshatra, Stars Beyond the Zodiac, Personal Panchanga, The Essentials of Vedic Astrology, Lunar Notes, Crisis and Redemption, Vedic Love Signs and Vedic Astrology, and Shodasha Varga, the 16 divisional charts of Vedic Astrology. You can also explore her teachings and resources on her website, that is www.komila.com. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from Komilla Sutton as she shares her profound knowledge and insights with us. Please join us in welcoming her. And before I hand over to our guest, kindly note that any questions that you may have, please type them and post it in the comment section. We will take it in the end of the session. Over to you, Komila ji.
Thank you so much, Shilpa, for such a wonderful introduction. And I will share my screen. And, it's a great pleasure to be here at Raman and Rajeswari Foundation Masterclass 2023. And my topic is Graha Drishti, planetary aspects, the influence we cannot ignore. And this photograph is of Lord Shani. And here I am, I'm in the ashram. And so after celebrating my 70th birthday, so I want to start with some chanting. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahman Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Brahma Murari Stripurantakari Bhanu Shashi Bhumi Suto Buddhascha Guruscha Shukraha Shanirahu Ketava Sarve Graha Shanti Bhavo. Om Japa Kusum Sankasham Kashyapeyam Mahadvatim Tamorim Sarva Papagnam Pranato Asmi Divakaram. So, just want to share my books. I have written many books, and also, as Shilpa pointed out, that I have Vedic astrology courses. They begin in March 2024, the next set of courses. They're all live with me. They're not pre-recorded or anything. So you can look it up on my website, komilla.com. And this is Lord Surya here on the left. And, it is my greatest honor to be part of the master class and honoring Dr. B.V. Raman and his memory as the greatest, you know, uh, Vedic astrologer of our times. I remember when I was a young, uh, teenagers in India and interested in Jyotish, and I used to read the astrological magazine. I used to go wait for it to come out and go to the newspaper so many times. And now, of course, Niranjan Babuji is, continuing the tradition, and Raman Suprajama. So it's just wonderful. And I never had the honor of meeting Dr. Raman, but I feel so privileged that I am able to be here today and to lecture on this forum. And of course, Mrs. Raman, Rajeswari Raman, who both of them, uh, so pranam to the gurus. And so, Drishti. Drishti has been loosely translated as aspect, but Drishti is much more. Apte Sanskrit Dictionary uh, uh, has translated Drisht as seen, visible, perceived, viewing, observable, experienced, suffered, endured. And there's also, you could look up the meaning from Monier Williams' dictionary. So I think sometimes the drishti also has to be suffered. Some aspect of it is there that we have to deal with. So there are two types of drishti, Graha Drishti and Rashi Drishti. Today, my lecture is on Graha Drishti. Graha is planets and Drishti is aspects. Planets from their position will aspect certain signs. By doing so, they modify the quality of the sign or the planets placed within them for better or for worse. Planets only cast forward aspects. The aspect of the planet is always on the whole sign it is casting an aspect to. Of course, we could say that the closer the aspect, say if you have a planet at 2 degrees aspecting another planet at 2 degrees, then that is a more like a precise aspect. But generally, in Jyotish, we believe that the aspects on the whole sign. Aspects of the planet stimulate the house and the planets within. Nature of aspect depends on the nature of the planet. This is most important because the benefic planets will give a benefic aspect, whereas malefics will give a malefic aspect. Aspects represent the interests and desires of the planets, and they take the energy from the natal position to the house they aspect. It can bless or challenge the houses. The aspect of the planet is always on the whole sign it is casting an aspect to. More precise the aspect, the greater the impact. Planets will aspect houses even if there is no planet in them. This is very important because the drishti can be on a house. It's not on planet to planet. It is house. So if a graha is aspecting the house, it can bring its influence and create a energy according to its nature. So this is the whole summary of my lecture, is that influence of planets by aspect is what we cannot ignore, because the aspecting planets exercise a major influence. So when we are just seeing the chart without the aspect, we don't know what is the added influence on the house, on the grahas. And I remember when I started studying Jyotish so many years ago, 1979, I started studying Jyotish. And first thing, I still have the page when my Guruji made me make up all the aspects. And I did not understand it at that time, but I feel that this is a area that we should be very mindful of and very conscious that it is important aspect. So what are the basics of the aspect? So all planets will cast 100% aspect on the seventh sign away from it. If the sun is in Aries, it will cast 100% aspect to the seventh sign from it, Libra, and the planets that are located in it. Jupiter, Saturn, Mars cast further aspects. Jupiter aspects fifth and ninth from its position. Saturn aspects third and 10th. Mars aspects fourth and eighth. Rahu Ketu also cast aspects on fifth, seventh, and ninth houses from them. A little bit later about Rahu Ketu. So these are the Graha Drishtis, that Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus, they only have these are 100% aspects on the seventh house. That means wherever they are placed exactly opposite to them, they are influencing. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Rahu Ketu have special aspects. Mars, 4th, 7th, 8th house. Jupiter, 5th, 7th, ninth houses. Saturn, 3rd, 7th, 10th houses. And Rahu Ketu, 5th, 7th, and ninth houses. Now, not everybody uses Rahu Ketu's in aspect, and I've used it always. I will talk about my reason for using it. So there are also further aspects. Planets cast 75, 50, 25 aspect as well. These aspects are rarely used, however, we should be aware of them. 75% aspect is Kendra to Kendra houses. This is a strong aspect. So, for example, if Sun is in Aries, it can aspect seventh house, it's always aspecting Libra, but it can influence fourth and 10th house. Today, for the masterclass, we are going to keep to the 100% aspects. But these are things that we should know. So this is these aspects are known. 100% aspect is known as a 4-pada aspect of full intensity. 75 is 3 pada, 50% is 2, and 25% is 1 pada. So that means that the full might of a planet is obviously the 100% aspect, because all the energy is taken from its place and gone to that next house and sign. So this is Joe Biden's chart, and here he's our present president of USA, and I'm talking to you from California, USA just now. And you see, when you start looking at the chart, you see the aspect. So here we can see Sun, Venus aspecting from Scorpio, aspecting Saturn in Taurus. And Saturn, the aspect is most important. When you see my presentation chart, the Saturn's aspect is most important. And Saturn's aspecting the Lagna, and Saturn is aspecting third aspect. So 1, 2, 3, Saturn will aspect Cancer, ninth house. It aspects the Lagna and Sun and Venus in Scorpio, but all the Lagna as well. And by the 10th aspect, it's aspecting the fourth house. So Shani's influence is being transferred to these houses. If we look at Jupiter's aspect, so Jupiter obviously aspecting exactly opposite to it, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Jupiter is also aspecting the Lagna, bringing his blessing, and Jupiter is aspecting opposite to it third house and fifth house. So fifth house is showing that you know, children, creativity. Jupiter's aspect on the fifth house confirms that you're going to have children. But Shani's aspect, which is more difficult and karmic by nature, is aspecting ninth house and Jupiter, which is the fifth lord. And ninth house is also fifth from fifth. And in Joe Biden's case, he lost his daughter to a car accident in the 70s, and both his children were injured, and he lost his wife as well. So you see that aspect on Jupiter, fifth lord and fifth from fifth, that had quite difficult energy for him. And he lost his uh, elder son in 2014, I think. And his younger son is now being prosecuted. So you see that Shani's aspect is very important. If you did not look at that, you may not get the full picture of a person's life. So, nature of the drishti: aspects modify the planets, and malefic planets will cause damage while benefics enhance. Uh, Saturn, Mars, Sun, Rahu, Ketu aspects usually cause challenges and separation. Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, Moon will enhance. Jupiter aspects are very positive to receive. Saturn aspect is usually karmic in nature, as it brings about past life issues as well. Where Shani is aspecting, he is stimulating the karma of life and the old karmic issues that we have to deal with. And sometimes we don't know what those issues are. So generally, when people are looking at the drishtis, they tend to look at Jupiter, Saturn, Mars as the most important aspects. Planets aspecting back to their own signs is positive, as it fortifies the house. Many malefics aspecting one sign, then it is majorly stressful. Aspects to the moon, uh, if moon has many aspects, it shows a troubled mind. This is something that I look at a chart first, is that moon is our mind. Mercury is the other planet that is connected to mind, but moon and Mercury both, but moon is the mind. And you want to see what are the aspects to the moon. And sometimes, uh, a person can have all the malefic aspects: Saturn, Mars, Rahu, or Ketu. I look at Ketu aspects as well. And therefore, then, you have to think that uh, moon has, it's a more troubled mind and needs protection. That in Jyotish, we are always thinking, what is the remedy, what we can do, what is the spiritual remedy we can do, and sometimes practical remedies also. So the aspects to the moon always take a prime position for me. Shani's drishti: Shani cuts away the ego by his aspect. His aspect is on third, seventh, 10th houses from itself. Shani's aspect has a separating influence. And so I would say that Shani is most important aspect that we should consider, because Lord Shani, he is the planet of karma, and he is where he's aspecting, not only where he's placed, where he's aspecting. So that means that there are three other areas of Lord Saturn's influence that we cannot ignore. And that area is where he is interested, but he also has a separating influence, so he can detach you. So if it's aspecting the seventh house, he will first give you a marriage and then detach you from it, or create some problem there. So that is the key factor. Plus, he's also making you humble. in those areas, doesn't want ego. So the myth of Shani is explains why his aspect is so challenging. So the Krura Lochana and Saturn, that is the story. See, there are so many stories. Sometimes people object to the word myth, but these are, we could say, Puranic stories that are there, which we learn and we use in Jyotish as well, about about Lord Saturn. There's Krura Lochana and Saturn. Shani is known as Krura Lochana. Krura means cruel and Lochana means eye. So his eyes are cruel. Uh, so the curse of Shani's wife. Shani is a devotee of Lord Krishna. One day his wife is seeking his attention. She found Saturn deep in meditation to Lord Krishna. His eyes were looking downwards and sideways. So basically, she kind of dressed up and wanted his ascension, and he was not bothering about her. Maybe that's the nature of Saturn as well. And so, being his wife, she's just as fierce as him. So she felt ignored and in her anger cursed him. You may not be able to look at someone else in future. Your sight would remain ever downwards. Whosoever you look at, he would be ruined. So, you know, this aspect sometimes, um, his eyes sort of at an angle. There's a Hindi word tirchi nazar, they look at a side, don't look straight into the eye. You'll meet people like that also. But that is the curse she gave him. The sight of Lord Shani remains downwards. He became known as Krura Lochana, cruel-eyed. His aspect is considered more negative than his placement. This is something very important when you are looking at Shani. It's not just his placement, but what is he aspecting? That is the key factor. Though there are three different names for Saturn's wife: Neela Devi, Manda Devi, and Jyeshta Devi. Sometimes Jyeshta Devi is also given as his sister, sometimes as his wife. So, there's no consensus, especially when I travel India and I see the wives. Sometimes Shani is not alone with his wives, and they are differently named as well in the temples. So then Saturn's aspect and Lord Ganesha, and we are right now in the middle of Lord Ganesha festival, and many people are keeping Lord Ganesha at home and praying to him. So there are many stories of Lord Ganesha, how he got an elephant's head, and this is one of them. So Lord Shiva and his wife goddess Parvati invited all the gods, including the planetary gods, to celebrate Lord Ganesha's birth. After his naming ceremonies, the gods Vishnu, Brahma, Indra, Agni, Varun, Surya, Chandrama, Mangal, Buddha, Brihaspati, Shukra took him in their lap, had a look at him, gave blessings and gifts. This is, if you are Indian, when the baby is born, we all hold him and then give a shagan, something auspicious to the baby. So here we see a very nice picture of Lord Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma looking at the baby, Ganesha. So last came Shani Deva. He gave the blessing and a gift to the child like others, but he did not look at the child. His face was turned to the side. Goddess Parvati said, Shani Deva, you're dishonoring us by not looking at our child while giving your blessings. Shani Dev said, Lord Shiva, Goddess Parvati, when I look at somebody, it brings destruction. So I don't want to bring any calamity by casting my negative sight on baby Ganesha. But Goddess Parvati didn't agree that Shani's look was so negative. She insisted that Shani Deva see her child while blessing him. Shani Deva continued to protest. Finally, he said, Lord Shiva, Goddess Parvati, I am doing so at your request. I will not be responsible for the consequences. He turned to look at baby Ganesha. His head got separated from his body. Goddess Parvati said, Shani Deva, what did you do to my child? I only asked you to look at him, not to destroy him. So this aspect, there are many kathas or stories that we hear. So Shanideva said, Lord Shiva, this is why I always keep my eyes down, never look directly at anybody, as I know whenever I look at anything, I destroy it. So this is just one aspect, there's various variations to the story. Shani's aspect, cutting off Ganesha's head, shows his ability to cut off the physical ego of the individual. And you see here, another factor is this, that Lord Shani, he also bothers the gods as well as the humans and in between. His influence is not just to the humans. When you read about his travels and his transits, then you see that his influence is very strong. So Shani aspects 3rd, 7th, 10th house is more difficult than his placement. Houses Shani aspects, their signification tend to be destroyed, or your relationship to them can be destroyed. So therefore, it is really important to look at the Shani aspect. And of course, we also are doing a remedy for Lord Saturn. If Shani aspects the 7th house, there's going to be destruction of relationship in form of divorce or long separation. It can also lead to an unsteady marital relationship. Also, Shani's aspect by transit must be considered. Right now, Shani is in Aquarius and he is aspecting the 3rd aspect on Aries, and Rahu and Jupiter are in Aries, as you are aware of it. He's aspecting Leo and Scorpio. So those are the 3 aspects. So you see that Aquarius and then the 3 aspects by transit Shani is influencing. And therefore, those areas, and if the planets are placed there, those areas are getting troubled or having to face some karmic issue as far as Saturn is concerned by transit. It will change in 2024 when Saturn moves into Pisces. So Saturn remedies for past life issues, this is very important, is karma yoga, selfless service. Be selfless, give back to society. Caring for animals, donation for good causes. I always say, not just donation, danam, but for good causes. You don't want to donate to the wrong causes. So that, of course, is up to everybody's own discretion. Fasting, mantras for Saturn, yogic remedies. There are many yogic yam, niyam, I would say, Raja Yoga practices are there. There are many yogic practices, pilgrimage, to Shani temples, Shiva temples. There are some famous Shani temple, Tirunallar, one of them you can think about. But general pilgrimage also helps. And then simplifying your life, Shani doesn't like too much ego, too much overdoing things. And so, especially if Saturn is aspecting your moon, then he can either be with the moon or aspect the moon. And both of them, you have to be conscious that that is something that is bothering you. So here we now look at Shani's aspect for Joe Biden, the current president of USA. And what you see is that Saturn is in the 7th house. And 7th Lord Venus is in the Lagna in Scorpio, where he's not totally happy, also combust. So very close to the sun. His Lagna is Scorpio. So Shani's aspect on the Lagna is firstly would be bothering Joe Biden, something to do with his ego and to manage that. And then, as I told you, that Shani aspecting Venus, seventh lord, uh, and he lost his wife. Actually, the very sad situation, the day he was going to be inaugurated or as the MP in 1970s. His wife and his three children were involved in a car accident, and the wife and daughter died, and two children were seriously injured. So that is here we can see the aspect, and of course that also hurt him very much. And then Saturn's aspect onto the ninth house. So ninth house we would say father, uh, and but Jupiter's placed there. Jupiter's Karaka for children, and he is also the lord of the fifth house, and ninth house is ninth from ninth. So you see that aspect there. And then the last aspect of Shani. So this is the third aspect. Seventh is opposite, and you can see in the South Indian chart as well. Uh, and you see that aspecting the fourth house home. And of course, as a senator and then vice president and president, you're not so much at home. But fourth house could be home, happiness, mother's relationship. So various areas. We don't know much about, or at least I don't know much about his relationship with his mother, but I'm telling you what is the public knowledge. And right now, um, Saturn is in Aquarius, and from transit Saturn, 1, 2, 3, aspecting Aries and his moon, aspecting 10th house, Lagna and Rahu, Leo, and aspecting his first house as well. So it's a challenging transit for him. So Saturn is the present Dasha Lord for Joe Biden. And Saturn is, we are studying the dashas later. Saturn in the seventh house aspects, third aspect on the ninth house, Cancer and Jupiter. Jupiter, second and fifth lord and Karaka for children. Seventh house aspect is on Lagna, Scorpio, Sun, Venus. Sun rules 10th house, Venus, seventh, Karaka for seventh house. 10th aspect is on the fourth house, Aquarius and Ketu. Now, Aquarius aspect is also on the own sign. So that aspect is fortifying as well, fourth house, home, property, all those things. So the next aspect we study is Rahu Ketu Drishti. Rahu Ketu aspects 5th, 7th, 9th house. Sometimes 12th is studied too. Often Ketu Drishti is not included, although I have always studied it. Jain Bhasin mentioned in his book Astro Sutras, and since then I use it with great effect. Now, there are some teachers that scholars of Jyotish, we could say, don't even use Rahu's Drishti because they feel that Rahu is a shadow and he should not have Drishti. And the Drishti of Ketu, many people don't use it, but I started using because I read that book many years ago when I was starting out studying. And I've always looked at Ketu's Drishti, and I find that if we don't use it, it is quite missing out something. 12th house aspect due to retrograde motion will be on the second house direct from Rahu or Ketu, not the 12th. Only Rahu Ketu's aspects are modified due to retrograde. And the other aspects doesn't matter because, this fifth and ninth, like Jupiter, and seventh. So whether you look at it direct or backwards, they are always the same. So this is Boris Becker, the um, tennis legend, and also he is been in prison because of financial irregularities and then lying and all sorts of things. And here we see that if we take Rahu's Drishti, uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Rahu is aspecting Jupiter and 10th house, opposite Mercury and Ketu and the 12th house of expenses, and ninth aspect is on the second house and Mars. And you see, Sage Parashar says many times that drishti on the 12th house also creates interest in the 12th house and creates uh, losses and problems. And Boris Becker took out a loan he couldn't pay, and therefore then he was put into bankruptcy, and then he lied about his assets, and I think he's out of jail now, but he was. And after being such an iconic tennis star, it seems very sad for him. And then I think that what is interesting is that Rahu's aspect is on the 12th house and the second house. And then if we look at Rahu's aspect, 12th aspect, you'd say it's on Rahu in Aries would be in Pisces, but because of the forward aspect, you'll take the second house, which is seventh house. And of course, that is also connected to uh, marriage and multiple uh, uh, marriages that he has had. And here you can see in Boris's chart is that Rahu's 12th aspect and Saturn's third aspect is on the seventh house. So he has been divorced a few times, and unstable marital relationships are there. Of course, when you're looking at unstable relationships, you have to see more than one thing. And in Boris Becker's case, you can see seventh Lord Venus is in Virgo, debilitated, aspected by Saturn as well. You see, there's one aspect is not enough. And then, of course, Mars is Kuja Dosha too. So, number of things that you can see here. So, Rahu in Aries aspects Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, Lagna Lord Mars in Sagittarius getting aspect of Rahu can be damaging. Ketu in Libra aspects Aquarius, Aries, Gemini. Ketu's aspect on 4th may keep him away from his home country. And of course, he has been on prison as well. So that home life, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Ketu in the 4th. I think Boris lives in UK, but maybe because of this now prison, he's been deported back to Germany because he was born in Germany. So you can see the Ketu aspect is there. And so then Mars Drishti is 4th, 7th, and 8th houses. And this is Rihanna's chart, and Mars Drishti, because Mars is a warrior planet, and his Drishti can be bring anger and frustration and difficult energy for somebody, and as I said, I'm also looking for multiple Drishtis. So if all the planets are there, Mars can also cause accidents. And here what we see is that Rihanna has Mars in Sagittarius, and from here, 1, 2, 3, 4th Drishti is on his Lagna. Now, sometimes the scholars say that if two planets are conjoined together, then Mars, when he's aspecting the Lagna, he's taking the energy of Saturn to the Lagna as well. And Another factor is this, that Saturn is Kendra from the Lagna, so that will be a 75% Tripada aspect. But Mars Drishti to the Lagna, Mars seventh aspect is to the fourth house, and Saturn is also aspecting the fourth house. Mars, eighth house Drishti is to the fifth house. Now, for Pisces Lagna, Mars is also a good planet. But I would say Mars Drishti to the fourth house is to do with home. She doesn't live in her homeland. She's born in Barbados and largely lives in USA, sometimes Europe as well. But another factor is this, that Rihanna has Saturn's aspect onto the fourth house as well. And she had a very violent episode in her car because she was beaten up by somebody, her then boyfriend, in the car on the way to Oscars. So you see that fourth house aspect is not accident, but a bad experience in the car. So what you have to recognize is that natural malefic aspects are challenging. Some areas of life where there are many aspects of malefics, then it is extremely tough. As I was explaining to you, that when there is an aspect of planets of one area of life, whether the moon is there or other planets are there, you can see in Rihanna's case immediately the Saturn, Mars in the fourth house. That can also affect mother, relationship with mother. And, sometimes you'll get even Saturn's aspect, fourth house. So that fourth house situation is quite challenging for her. So here we have Johnny Depp's chart. And Johnny Depp is an American actor. And recently he was involved in a number of court cases with his now ex-wife. And it was a very difficult situation for him. And he had to deal with a lot of stuff. Now, here what you see is that, so let's start with the aspects. Normally, we always start with Shani aspects because where's the karma? What are the issues? So, Shani seventh house is Digbala position, strong. Johnny Depp, he's famous for Pirates of the Penzance. Not Penzance, sorry, Pirates of the Caribbean. Super successful. Sometimes, this too much success also not good for you. And you can see here that Saturn Digbala, so that is a good position, but Saturn is aspecting 1, 2, 3, third aspect to the ninth house. So, and ninth lord as well. So, ninth lord also is a planet for wisdom. Jupiter is the planet of wisdom as well. And Jupiter's Karaka for many things. He's Karaka for second house, fifth house, ninth house, 11th house, So that Shani's aspect on Jupiter is not the easiest. Maybe not taking the correct advice. Shani is testing him by, encouraging him to do the wrong thing. And so the luck factor that you see, you saw that in Joe Biden's chart as well. He had Jupiter, exalted Jupiter in the ninth house. But here we see that ninth lord is in the ninth house, but the aspect of Shani is there. And then the second aspect is on the Lagna and first house and ego, and of course bothering him. When Shani aspects the Lagna, is always something little bothering and creating that, making you humble, wanting you to let go of your ego. That is very most important. And then the 10th aspect is on the fourth house. Fourth house could be mother, it could be happiness as well. And so you see, they're not planets there in the Lagna or the fourth house, but Shani's aspect is there for him. And, he is at present in Saturn Dasha as well. So then we want Jupiter's Drishti. That is a positive aspect. Jupiter aspects fifth, seventh, ninth houses. It protects. It's the blessing from God. It's a divine blessing that we bring. So just like Saturn's Drishti is negative, we want Jupiter's Drishti. Of course, in some ways, nothing is negative or positive. It is all the play of karma and all the things that we have to receive, because it is just unfolding of our karma. But of course, when we see the Jupiter's aspect, then those are the areas that he's protecting you, he's giving opportunities for you. And Jupiter aspects on malefic planets calms them down, keeps them under positive influence. You see, when we are studying any dashas of the malefic planets, we want to see under whose influence they are. If the malefic planets are under more malefic influence, they tend to misbehave more, because it's just like, what is the influence? If Jupiter is aspecting the malefic planet, um, Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, then he's casting a calming influence on those grahas, and therefore uh, making your experience lot less difficult about them. So here we see Prince Harry. He's the son of King Charles, and here we see Jupiter's aspect from the Lagna, fifth house. He has two children as well, and his moon. And we have seventh house, many girlfriends, but also marriage, and ninth house, Sun and Mercury. And ninth house, good luck, good fortune. He's born a prince. So, um, and but what you see on the moon for Prince Harry is that Saturn also aspects the moon. And of course, he lost his mother, and moon is no planet either side. So that is a Kimadruma yoga as well. You see, one aspect is not enough to create the problem. There have to be other issues as well. But if we look at Shani's aspect, we see Shani 1, 2, 3 aspecting the Lagna, and seventh house on the moon, and on fifth house as well. So Saturn aspect can also show separation, or sometimes, we have issues with children as well. You have separation. Simple separation can be they're studying or travel abroad or something, or sometimes a separation from divorce is possible. And Saturn aspects Cancer from eighth house aspect. And eighth house is Nija dosha, some old karma that Saturn can activate for us. And this is Sadguru Jaggi Vasudeva. And here we see a Guru aspect here, that firstly Jupiter is with Venus. So Venus is Lagna Lord, and then Jupiter aspecting the ninth house and the Lagna. So that is a very fortunate. That's why you see Jupiter's placement in Lagna, fifth, seventh, or ninth house is always welcomed, because it would be aspecting back to the Lagna. Sometimes, fifth house, they don't like Jupiter because of karma, Lord, Karaka Lord in the house. But I find that is not always, it is misunderstood. But here we see in Sadhguru's chart here as well that Saturn is aspecting by the 10th aspect to Sun, Mars, and Mercury. That can also, Shani's aspect can also bring people doubting you, or, criticizing you, because Shani is uh, activating some karma, some difficulty. So you have to look at that uh, in this thing. So, analyzing drishti, study where the drishtis are falling. Uh, is there predominance of malefic drishti on a particular house or planet? Then they can be troubled. Their significations, karaka, house rulership, disturbed. So, what I would suggest to you is that you should print out your chart, not just look at it from the software itself, and then create the drishtis by hand, so that you're getting a visual look at what the drishtis are doing, and create a drishti and put it to see which areas. And you can start with Shani, then you know Rahu, Ketu, and uh, Mars, and then look at Jupiter's drishti. The others, Sun, Moon, they're just opposite to it, so they're relatively easier to study. Check aspects on Moon, Mercury for emotional stability and stresses. As part of when I'm either teaching or consulting, I'm always interested what are the aspects on the Moon and Mercury. And if there is, of course, difficult conjunctions, but aspects as well, then it is important, malefic aspects on Moon and Mercury, that person should be doing remedies, yoga, meditation, prayer. You're protecting your mind, because if there's a lot of malefic influence, it's almost like lasers hitting you and troubling your mind. Generally, benefic aspects will calm, promote, while malefics will create challenges. What are the aspects of the Dasha Lord? What are the aspects it is receiving? Uh, so you see, Dasha Lord is your present experience. What are you experiencing right now? So what is that aspect is another importance. Aspect of positive planets increase strengths, while malefics will reduce. Malefic aspects are considered problems from past life that now disturbing, therefore reducing the power of the planets. But see, this is also given in Shadbal. It's not my thinking. All what I teach, I look at the study from the classics. And so in the Shadbal, you see the uh, Drikbal, the aspect. So the positive is always plus, and then malefic is minus. But you see, plus minus is easy to do. You have to think about it, that I have a lot of malefic. So some karma is coming. And then if I have a dasha of a malefic planet where he's aspecting, he's disturbing that. So therefore, what can I do about it? That is my main concern, is what can I do? How can I improve it? How can I help this situation? So that is the most important thing to consider. So that is it for today. I'll just show you here. This Johnny Depp right now is in Shani Dasha. So from Shani Dasha, Shani's aspects become very important. So the aspect to his Lagna, this is definitely giving him all the bad reputation and the court cases and all the issues. Shani is in the seventh house, so it's about marriage as well. And there is an aspect of Jupiter too on his Lagna. So that is protecting him at the same time as Saturn is causing the difficulty. So you see that this positive, so these dashas come one after the other. So you can see that Jupiter is protecting, but Saturn is causing the disturbance, and he would need to be conscious about Shani. But Shani is aspecting Jupiter as well. So this would also cause difficulty to Jupiter during its dasha and the fourth house. And in the fourth house, we see aspect of Rahu too. So Shani and Rahu both aspecting the fourth house. See, fourth house is your happiness home. So when you have multiple aspects there, then that is creating a difficulty for you. And it is creating unhappiness for you. That's what really it is, that when people are not um, steeped in tradition and spiritual life, then these aspects are more complicated, because we are born so that we pay back our old karma and we deal with it. So if you don't address those issues, they can be bothersome to you. And in this aspect of Saturn and Rahu, there is no Jupiter's aspect to the fourth house. That means they're purely both of them aspecting, and as the Dasha Lord right now, aspecting the fourth house. Then in Prince Harry's case, he's in Rahu Dasha just now. So Rahu's aspect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rahu's aspecting his 10th house, career. We could say father's wealth as well, 10th house. Venus, which is Karaka for marriage. So he got married in Rahu Dasha, but it can also disturb marriage for him. And we see that aspect there. Then Rahu is aspecting the 12th house and Mars. And you see, normally we don't say the opposition of Rahu, because Rahu Ketu, like Mars is in part of Rahu Ketu axis, but definitely Rahu is aspecting Mars, and Rahu is aspecting the um, second house, money, finances, savings, father, wealth. So definitely Rahu has separated him from that energy. And if we look at Rahu's next dasha is going to be Jupiter. So Jupiter at present is not, its aspects are there, general aspect is there, but like in the dasha, it becomes more prominent. So when he goes into Jupiter dasha, which is in a few years, then Jupiter will aspect the moon and the sun and the seventh house. So that is much easier dasha to deal with. So that is it for today. I'm open to any questions you may have, anything. Um, so I don't know. Any questions? I can't see any questions here. Let me just how do I? Okay. So I'm open for any questions. I don't see any questions here.
Minute. People.
Shilpa. Okay. Okay, obviously I was very
Yeah.
clear in what I taught.
And I'm sure people do reach out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shruti, the Graha aspects, they are used a lot more with Gemini astrology. She asked, what's the difference of effect of Rashi and Graha Drishti? I like to look at both the Drishtis, especially if I'm studying Gemini astrology, then the Rashi Drishti is more prominent. But Shadbal has given Graha Drishti only, not given Rashi Drishti. But Rashis aspecting each other, that's an additional influence that you are studying. Yeah, so funny, Ram Sarma is now how Saturn's drishti will affect when Saturn himself is aspected by benefic or malefic planet. So you see, there are two things. Firstly, Shani will, if he is aspected by um, a benefic planet, Shani himself is under good influence. But Shani's aspect doesn't get affected. Shani's aspect will always be difficult. But in Shani's Dasha, if he's aspected by benefic planet, we have his nature is much easier to deal with or in our chart. But Shani's aspect will still be a difficult aspect. And of course, if Shani is aspected by a malefic planet, then we are Shani himself is disturbed by that, and but aspect is because it is karmic by nature. Aspect remains the same, so I don't make a difference. However, you can think about it that how you are going to use it, and in your own experience, then you can decide whether that is more difficult when Shani is under a malefic aspect. So Poonam has asked if there's an exchange between any two grahas, will aspect considerations change? Which aspects would be effective, going by original placements or exchange placements? I would look at the original placements for the aspects, because the original is most important, because they are the ones that is there. But the Parivartana Yoga, that's a separate issue, that there is a number of rules that are given in, Phal Deepika about the Parivartana Yoga. So I'm not taking the new aspect position because of the Parivartana Yoga. I'm keeping the original position. Srinivas Rao said, Namaste, ma'am. Shani offers only bad in his aspects, no good at all. His job is only to offer, no way good to people. Please explain. I think it's the attitude of people. Shani's aspect, say if he's aspecting the seventh house, he'll give you career, then he will challenge you about it. If he's aspecting, sorry, seventh house, he give you marriage. If he's aspecting the 10th house, he will give career, but then he will challenge you. So the role of Shani is to bring out the karmic situation for you. So I don't see his aspect as bad. I think that his challenging aspect, and we have to consider that. We can't, we can be politically correct and say, oh, his aspect will be good as well. But the good comes in that he stimulates you, and he makes you think that, okay, I'm living this life, I need to pay off my karma, I should do the right thing, I should behave correctly. So I would say those are the things that we are then concerned about with Saturn. So not to take it as a bad aspect, but those areas that he's bothering us, we can do something, because it is our own karma, it is our own actions that we are having to deal with now. So if Moon Saturn conjunction is, Sindhu has asked if Moon Saturn conjunct in a house, they are both seventh aspect. In that case, Saturn Moon aspect is negative. Actually, the thing is this, that Moon's aspect would be positive, because wherever Moon is placed and what he aspects, that is an area Moon is interested in. But Moon Saturn firstly will disturb the Moon, and then Saturn is also aspecting there. So Moon is interested in that area and Saturn is separating you from it. So there's like a multiplicity of aspects. Say you have Jupiter Saturn conjunction in your chart, that's the same thing, that one is disturbing, the other is giving. So we have to then, as astrologers, there's all these complications that we have to consider and work through. So Rema Kishore, if benefic aspects are malefic, will malefic's drishti become more positive? I just explained about that the drishti still remains the same, but the malefic planet itself will get calmed down. Sometimes, like, benefic is aspecting Saturn or Mars, and Mars, his own nature, will be much calmer, but drishti doesn't change because the drishti is the nature of the planet. So the natural nature of the planet. But one point I just wanted to make about this malefic benefic is, let's say Mars for Cancer Lagna. He's Raja Yoga Karaka. For Leo Lagna, he's Raja Yoga Karaka. So Mars will give the positive influence as well. So Mars aspect something, he's doing the aspect of the Raja Yoga Karaka. But then he's also doing his work as Mars, as the aggressor, as the commander in chief, as the Agni planet. So you see that the both sides are visible. Same for Saturn, where he's Raja Yoga Karaka for Taurus and Libra Lagna. Saturn is bringing the Raja Yoga quality also through his aspect, but he's also bringing the challenges too. So, there's both things happening, not simultaneously, but sometimes side by side. So,
Yeah, once again, very thank you, Komila ji. It's been really a wonderful session, and thank you for answering all the questions so beautifully. I'm sure our audience would have definitely benefited from all of your answers. Thank you once again.
thank you,
And
Shilpa. Mhm.
before we end this session, I'd like to just take this opportunity to inform our audience that the next masterclass session is on coming Saturday, 30th September, and it will be by Sri Andrew Foss, and he'll be talking about consciousness, karma, and AI, artificial intelligence. So it's going to be very interesting subject. Also, if you like to stay informed about the masterclasses and similar sessions by the foundation, you can visit our website www.rrf.in, or you can also join our Telegram channel. So, thank you once again. Thank you to all our audience. Thank you, Komila ji, for being such a wonderful speaker. So, see you next Saturday. Until then, namaste, good evening, and good night. Thank you.